Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. So, last episode before the break. Um, I definitely would sit there and say that um, it is very cliffhanger worthy. I would sit there and say. Um, you got Paulina that's just going to Lonnie's place, being like, "Hey, listen, it's cold. Let's get out of here. Let's go to Miami." And Lonnie's like, one, I got work, and where is this coming from? So Lonnie also, one, she says she does have work. Two, she wants to be there for Chanel. They've been spending a lot of time together, just kind of hanging out and, just a place to kind of unwind and get her mind off of things, pretty much Johnny. Um, so she's just been snipped at just being a big sister. But with that being said, Paulina's like, yo, listen, I gotta sit there and find a way to keep Ray away from her. And I'm just like, so your plan is to what, whisk her away to Florida to be with Big Mama, um, in the hopes that he'll just sit there and be done, with Salem and go back to where he's at? Like that's your big plan? I feel like at this point, you doing too much. Okay, you doing way too much, and it's better for her to sit there and be prepared, um, and tell her the truth, as opposed to trying to whisk her away. Um, I just listen. I know that the guy is well, a scumbag to sit there and say the least. No, screw that. No, he's below a scumbag. No, he's just a terrible person. But I'm like, she's not a child. She's a grown woman that's a cop. I'm pretty sure she can sit there and take care of herself. Um, and it's not like she doesn't actually have a dad. Yeah, they may not be um related biologically, but their love for each other, their father and daughter in every way that counts. So I don't really understand this whole, oh, we gotta get out of town. I gotta sit there and get out of town, and all this other stuff like that. This is just like way too much. Um, and of course, they sit there and they reference, the last time they were in Miami, she almost got shot. For anyone that actually watched that Beyond Salem mini special, which I gotta sit there and say I did enjoy it. I didn't actually have time to sit there and kind of finish watching it, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a whole lot more than that damn Christmas special. Oh my goodness! But anyway, it does work. Um, Pauline is able to convince Lonnie to leave town, and her next stop is Chanel. So she gets over to the bakery and she's like, "Hey, why don't you sit there and have Allie just run everything, and then you could just go to Miami with me for a little bit." And I'm like, so Allie's just gonna be cool with that? Like she's just gonna be cool with just running a bakery by herself? Like, this is the second time you just decide to just dip, leave town with. I'm sorry, how many employees are actually working there? Because if it's just Allie and it's supposed to be you, what is she supposed to be doing? Baking also? Did you teach her how to bake? Like, what is the plan? I don't understand. How does that work? But I know it's a soap opera, so it's like, hey, let's just kind of throw some logic out the window. But I mean, come on, like, I can stretch my imagination only so far. Um, I wonder how should I sit there and tell the story first. Okay. So Trip walks Allie to the bakery, and Allie's being all nice and appreciative of Trip and just being a good man and a good stepfather and everything like that. Meanwhile, I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm like, I know a lot of people are parts like, man, this is such a cute and beautiful moment, and I'm just sitting there looking at it like, you lying ass, like dead serious. I was like, you're looking this man in the face and lying straight to his back while you hooked up with your friend again. Just no alcohol involved, no, oh, like, she was totally distraught or anything like that. No, she was very clear minded and she knew exactly what she was doing. And she went behind his back and she slept with somebody else. And now she's sitting up there being all up in his face, talking about, oh, you're a great stepdad, and we're gonna have a long life, this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the minute he finds out, he's gonna sit there and tell you to kick rock so fast. Oof, that's gonna be a great day. That's, you know what? That I feel like that is worthy of some sort of treat, some sort of dessert. Um, yeah, that is definitely going to be worth some dessert. Meanwhile, poor Trip. Poor Trip goes to Roman's and Roman's place and asks him about her parents because he said he wants to sit there and do things by the book. Um, Now, I'm not gonna lie, I got an extremely bad copy of Days, and I felt like I should have probably just watched it on my phone because I watched it on, let's say, this platform, and it was terrible. Um, but pretty much, long story short, Roman is like he wants to make sure that he wants to sit there and marry her. He wants to make sure that this is the right move because looking at Chanel and Johnny, they were so quick to sit there and get married, and now it's a disaster. But Tripp is like, I'm not like Johnny. I'm not gonna sit there and do that. I'm not gonna hurt her. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, that's just too bad because when you find out what she was doing behind your back, yeah, you might feel a little kind of differently about that. You might feel a little kind of differently about that. Just throwing that out there. But more or less, he does get Roman's blessing, and Allie walks in there to go get something to eat. Um, Trip and Roman gets, have this look on their face, and then he leaves. And, Allie's just kind of just standing like, the hell was that about? And too bad, because he's going to sit there and eventually pop that question, and, ooh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be so great. Because at that point, it's like, here's the thing. She's either going to sit there and say yes, which most likely no. She's either going to sit there and say no and tell the truth, which most likely she's not, or she's going to sit there and say yes, and I'm going to be sitting there just counting down the minutes, counting down the days, counting down the hours, just like with Gwen, until the truth blows up in her face, just like Gwen. Isn't that actually kind of amazing how I sit there and think about it? Like Gwen is getting married to Xander, and yet she is keeping a big secret from him. And Allie is also, you know, about to be proposed to by Trip, and she's keeping a big secret that's eventually gonna blow up in her face. So, I guess I gotta sit there and start thinking about desserts to get. Because I'm obviously gonna sit there and get two different types of desserts. Like one's gonna be like ice cream or something like that, and just pick out some ice cream. I already did cake with G8, so I don't know, maybe some ho hos or something. I don't know. Now, Gabby and Jake are having breakfast, and Gabby's sitting there talking about she's worried about Rafe with the whole like being a dirty cop, being accused of being a dirty cop and stuff like that. So she's also getting texts left and right, and Jake is like, "Yo, your phone's blowing up. Well, what's this about?" And she's like, "Oh, it's from Johnny, just being Johnny or whatever." And Jake is like, "Oh, can I see your phone? I want to see what kind of messages these are." I mean, we got trust between each other, right? I mean, we have no secrets. So it's like, yeah, you have no secrets, but why do you need to look at her phone? Like, why? I didn't understand. It was like, oh, you have no secrets between each other. You don't need to look at her phone. Like, I just personally have a problem with that, especially since that she's only flirting with Johnny to sit there and try to, get shares this way your plan, y'all two plans could sit there and just work out perfectly. What the hell do you need to sit there and look at her phone for? Anyway, he looks at it. He sees a bunch of emojis and like some, a devil emoji, which I gotta sit there and find. I was gonna sit there. I gotta sit there and find that devil emoji on my phone. I'm like, I don't feel like using that. I don't. I just don't want to use that. Um, he's pissed off or whatever, and Gabby leaves to go to Johnny's place. Now Jake goes to talk to Ben, and Ben. I don't know if he was getting a newspaper or whatever, but he saw the cross upside down, so he turns it around again. You know, and then he gets a knock from Jake, and he comes to the door, and Jake is like, what's going on with that? That don't look right. So they turn it around again, and they just kind of pretty much catch up. And the main focal point of this conversation is how Jake doesn't really feel comfortable with this plan. Like Johnny just kind of hitting on Gabby over and over and over again. Seeing how Ben didn't exactly get a good first impression of him, but he's like, at the end of the day, you gotta sit there and trust Gabby. Like Gabby has your back. She's not going to sit there and betray you or whatever. There was one point, and I did forget to sit there and talk about that. There was one point where Jake felt like, you know, he was in to telling Gabby, like, what happens if he seduces you and y'all get your shares or whatever. Like, that's going to leave me out in the cold. I'm like, where is this insecurity coming from, baby? You know exactly what her plan is. Um, but he pretty much the whole time talks about how he doesn't trust Johnny. He's not really exactly cool with the plan, but they're gonna go through with it, so this way they can both get what they want. And Ben is like, listen, you just gotta sit there and trust Gabby. Jake makes a comment about when he sit there and work for the mob, how he would be able to sit there and look a guy in the eyes and tell them tell what kind of guy that they are, and if they're fear, if they got fear in their eyes or whatever, and as opposed to people who just has straight up evil in their eyes, like they have nothing to lose. And he makes a remark about Johnny, like, yo, listen, I had that same vibe when I was looking in his eyes. Like he has nothing to lose. Like he just gives no F's. Um anyway, it seemed that Ben was able to kind of, calm Jake's fears a little bit. And again, and I said this before, but I actually do like their friendship. Their bromance. I mean, let's be honest. Ben doesn't really exactly have a lot of friends. Um, oh, now I think about it, I don't even think that Jake really actually has a lot of friends. So that's actually pretty great. But yeah, like I said, I like their friendship or whatever. So Gabby goes over to talk to Johnny, and Johnny's not there. Johnny Diablo is not there, hitting on her left and right. There's one point where Johnny's like, "Yo, listen, you can't trust Jake, because the minute that he gets what he wants, he's gonna sit there and screw you over. He's gonna kick you to the curb. He got what he wanted. He doesn't need you, you know." And Gabby's like, "No, I trust him. He's trustworthy. Like we got each other's back. We're solid. We're good." Um, Johnny says, like, I'm gonna sit there and promise my shares to you as a sign of good faith, because when he screws you over, just remember, I got your back pretty much. So Gabby leaves, and Gabby goes to Victor and Maggie's place. Now at this point, we all know what's gonna wind up happening. John Diablo already set the stage um, to try to weaken um, Gabby and Jake's relationship. Next thing you know, obviously, and it didn't sit there and show it towards the end, but anyway, long story short, because I'm just so not explaining this right. Um, John Diablo, disguised himself as Jake and is talking to Maggie. And Maggie, long story short, is like, listen, this plan seems good and everything, except there's one problem. Victor's not exactly cool with just handing over the reins to, anyone that's not in the family. But we want to know if that's going to be a deal breaker because, Gabby's supposed to be running Titan, but, Victor's not cool with that. We still cool with doing this deal? Like, we still good? And, Gabby's just like listening the whole time, and Gabby's not thinking he's going to say, hell no, he's going to sit there and fight for me. And, Jake is like, yeah, now we good. I don't got no problem with that. I mean, whatever happened to Gabby, that's not my concern. So, now Gabby's sitting there looking at the situation like, he didn't have my back. He didn't sit there and fight for me. When the opportunity came, he just took one for himself. Yep, John Diablo is definitely keeping himself busy. Now, Ray, runs into Allie and they're asking, where is Chanel at? Chanel comes in a little bit after, and, you know, Ray introduces himself to Chanel. They start to talking, whatever, about, Paulina and stuff like that, going way back, talking about the movie. Now, the thing is with the movie, he was like, you two are supposed to be in this movie, and they're basically just like, no, we're not doing that. Like, we don't want no parts of Johnny. Like, yeah, we're brother and sister, but that's only by blood. Like, I want no parts of him. So they're pretty much just like, we're not doing this movie. And Ray's like, listen, if you don't do this movie, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you, um, for everything, and I'm going to win. Now, at some point, they do talk about, they talk about Paulina. And long story short, when they bring up, I don't know if she bring up, Lonnie. I think he did sit there and say like, yeah, I ran into your cousin Lonnie, and Chanel was like, that's not my cousin, that's my sister. Now at this point, Ray just has this look like, I'm sorry, what? Especially sitting there thinking about the fact that Paulina lied when, Paulina was like, I only have one daughter. So at this point, they're still just like, yo, listen, we ain't doing this movie. Like, it's just not going to happen. You can sit there and take us to court if you want. And at that point, Ray was like, listen, we'll work something out. And he just leaves. Like, he just kind of totally just decided to drop the lawsuit, or at least for a little bit. Like, he wasn't even sitting there thinking about that. And eventually he does go to Lonnie's place. He knocks on the door, and Lonnie opens the door and it's like, hey, what are you doing here? Like, well, damn, is there any way to sit there and greet someone at the door? What are you doing here? Like, seriously. I get it to some extent, but I also feel like that's kind of rude, especially since you don't really. Here's the thing: we all know that Ray is an absolute lowlife. Um, Lonnie doesn't know that, and the first interaction that she had with him, Paulina was not there being the aggressor. So when he comes to the door, it's like, hey, or whatever. She's just like, oh, what do you want? Well, hello to you too. Like, are you kidding me? I don't know. It seems like that cross every time somebody leaves. Because when Jake left, Jake looked at that cross like, "Yo, listen, the next time I'm here, we gonna fix that cross because that's just giving me all sorts of creepy vibes." And he just leaves, and I think the cross goes like back upside down or whatever. So let me just double check my notes. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's so weird. I mean, here's the thing. I know it's gonna come back on, and I know this has been a tradition. This has been a thing for years. But I'm just not used to that, to be honest. I'm just used to it being on like every day. So it's like the fact that it's not going to come back on for like a whole month. Is like, wow. And here's the thing about this. Here's the thing about this soap opera. There's been times where I've been like watching this and like watching GH, and it's like, man, GH, you slacking, bro. Like, what are you doing? Um, I thought this episode was pretty interesting. And the funny thing is that I feel like I'm already gonna like this episode better than GH. But you know what? They have surprised me before, and hopefully they can sit there and do it again. But yes, with that being said, I'm going to go. Now here's my little prediction, which I don't normally do, but why not? I have a feeling that right before this wedding of Allie and Trip, Johnny's gonna sit there, or Johnny Diablo's gonna sit there and spill the beans, and oof, I feel like that's how it's gonna come out. I really do feel like that's how it's gonna come out. Yeah, I feel like that's how it's gonna come out. Anyway, let me know what your predictions are. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe, and I will see you in the next video.